Hello and welcome. My name is David Rice, and I'm here to present you 2003 Magic. Many of you people have asked me, why the heck did you go ahead and do this? This is just crazy and must have been a bit of money and a bit of time. Well, we all play Magic because we're super passionate about it. I've been playing since Ice Age. Around this time, early 2003, is when I really started paying attention to the different formats. What was good in standard? What was good in extended? In my opinion, this might be one of the best standard environments of all time. A lot of different decks, a lot of different strategies. And I wanted to go ahead and share that experience. Some of you may be newer to the game. Some of you may have remembered this time period, but it's definitely a really great nostalgia hit. And I really hope to see you February 22nd for the tournament. It should be a lot of fun. Go ahead and feel free to go ahead and enter. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm going to go ahead and present all the different decks, all the different strategies, and talk a little bit about some of the old school rules that we'll be going by. All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the details. First question you got to ask: what's legal? Simply, it's these six sets: Seventh, Odyssey, Torment, Judgment, and Onslaught. No Scourge. A lot of people ask me why no Scourge. Has some fun cards like Oval War Chief, Siege Gang Commander, Decree of Justice. It, in my opinion, it made the format less diverse. I think Decree of Justice made the Mirari Wake decks very powerful. They're already really strong, um, but Decree of Justice, I think, was a little bit hurt the diversity of the format. So I went ahead and little addition by subtraction. So only these six sets. If you are building your own deck, please build it for cards from these six sets. One thing to note: feel free to use any version of a card from those sets. So Underground River, for instance, was printed in Seventh. It was a reprint from Seventh. So if you want to go ahead and bring your Ice Age Underground Rivers, go for it. If you want to go ahead and bring your Brothers War Underground Rivers, go for it. If you want to bring your 10th edition Underground Rivers, go for it. Cards that have been reprinted or were previously printed, go for it. Just as long as they were legal in those six sets I mentioned. Feel free to use any version of a card from those sets. Some old school rules. In the next couple slides, I'm going to talk about combat damage of the stack a little bit more in depth. Mana Burn, very simple. You don't use all your mana within a phase, bam, you're taking some damage. Paris Mulligans, you got it. We got bad mana bases, so we're going back to the old school mulligans. You go 7 to 6 to 5. Nope, no scrying, no looking at 7 cards and putting them on the bottom. You just gotta you gotta deal with it. Wishes can also get cards removed from the game. Pretty simple. If you want to go ahead and flashback a spell, then Cunning Wish it right back. Boom, that's perfectly fine. Just for a quick overview, combat damage on stack, I want you to imagine you have an Aquamoeba and your opponent has a Grizzly Bears, and you decide to attack with your Aquamoeba. Your opponent decides to block with his Grizzly Bears. After your opponent goes ahead and they declare blockers, you decide to discard your Aquamoeba, using Aquamoeba, your Basking Root Wall, and make it a 3/1. Combat damage goes right on the stack, and you respond to combat damage on the stack by discarding a Deep Analysis, making your Aquamoeba a 1/3. And how this interaction will work is the Grizzly Bears will take 3 damage, and your Aquamoeba will take 2 damage, but be a 1/3. And after damage resolves, your Aquamoeba will live, and the Grizzly Bears will die. I just Google this a little bit if you're not familiar with those rules. I don't mind if anyone wants to ping me. I'll go ahead and make another quick overview, and I'll definitely do a quick overview before the tournament. So, how the heck are you going to play in this tournament? It's build a deck or borrow one. If you come with a deck of cards from those sets, you get a free entry. Awesome deal. If you cannot, feel free to borrow a deck. Decks will be a lot of players in a draft style, picking one of the 8 decks. Let's say Jane Doe comes in and she wants to go ahead and play it. She's picked first. She gets the first pick. She gets picked one of these 8. John Smith, who gets second, he picks from the 7, and then so forth. One thing to note about this draft style is I will intentionally lose the draft every time, so I'll be the last pick every time. So, you know, obviously these will hold out. You have to go ahead and return the deck after the tournament is done with, and yeah, just go ahead and have a bit of fun. But if you want to go ahead and build your own deck, feel free. All right, UG Madness, maybe the most famous deck from this time period. Uses Wild Mongrel, which is one of the most popular and at the time the greatest creature of all time. Um, mixes that with cards like Basking Root Wall, Circular Logic, Arrogant Worm to flashing creatures and have some counter magic. Has some play with Quiet Speculation. Goes ahead and gives Roar of the Worm and Deep Analysis to just to have extra card advantage. Really fun deck. Definitely a jump in how Magic players understood tempo at the time. And yeah, just one of the best decks in the format. I wouldn't be surprised if it was one of the first couple decks picked. All right, red green beats. Pretty simple. It once again uses a Wild Mongrel. It plays creatures and then tries to get your opponent low enough, and then tries to burn them out with Violent Eruption, Firebolt, and Volcanic Hammer. Really good burn cards from back in the day. Pretty straightforward. I won't delve too deeply on this. Definitely in the sideboard runs Flaring Pain to get around Moment's Peace and other cards like that. But pretty straightforward. Pretty straightforward. If you like attacking and you like going ahead and burning your opponent, this is the deck for you. Zombies. This list is from Brian Kibler and John Finkel. They top 8 at U.S. Nationals that year with the 75. It's kind of a mid-range deck. Doesn't really have too much tribal synergy, so don't think of it as like a tribal deck, but think of it more as like Judded out with, but just mono black. Runs Withered Wretch to mess with people's graveyards, and Tuck of Shade to pump up. Rotland Reanimator is really a pain in the ass for control decks because you have to kill it twice. Yeah, you just play a few creatures, beat down, and disrupt them with duresses, Cabal Therapies, Mesmeric Fiends. Fun deck if you like mid range and playing Jund. I definitely recommend this deck for you. Greenback Oversoul. This is kind of like a synergy deck. Has a lot of sacrifice synergies going on with it, particularly the namesake Oversold Cemetery. You can go ahead and return creatures that you sacrificed. Braids is just a huge pain in the ass for control decks. Has a bit of disruption with Call Up Therapy. Living Wish is really sweet. You go ahead and get creatures out of the yard. Wild Herald has a lot of different synergies. You can sacrifice it to Natunko Husk and then get a Caller Claw and get a whole bunch of bears in play. If sacrifice and different synergies are what you find fun, I definitely recommend this deck for you. All right, Psychotog. This is a blue-black control deck. Uses Psychotog to finish off the opponent by pumping it up to sometimes even over 20 points of power. Counter spell as a removal. Really fun cards like Shadow Mage Infiltrator, which is I have a playset signed by arguably one of the greatest players of all time. Um, pretty straightforward. Upheaval Psychotog, you float 9 mana, cast Upheaval, return everything, cast Psychotog, game over. Really fun deck. If you're into control decks, I definitely recommend this deck for you. All right, Mono Black Control. This is it's a board control deck. Runs Corrupt to try as not only a removal spell, but also a finisher. Call Coffers to create ubiquitous amounts of mana. Diabolic Tutor, just go and tutor anything you want. If you're interested in like Mono Black Control or play trying to create huge amounts of mana, I definitely recommend this deck for you. Slide. This uses a bunch of different cycling synergies. Astro Slide. The deck's namesake can not only remove your opponent's creatures, but also yours. So you can, with your Cartographer, you go ahead and get your own cycling lands back and, cycle to trigger it again. Lightning Rift is not only just a win condition, it also clears the board. Um, and has Wrath of God to clear the board as well. A lot of different cycling. You'll the end of the game will probably end with you having a whole bunch of enchantments and your opponent having nothing and almost dying from boredom. If torching your opponents and burning them to the face slowly sounds like fun, I definitely recommend this deck for you. Last but not least, Cunning Wake. This is a Bant control deck. Creates a whole bunch of different bunch of mana with Mirari's Wake. Uses Exalted Agent finish on your opponent. Runs Cunning Wish to go ahead and get whatever you need. One note about Cunning Wish is if you already cast Cunning Wish, so it gets removed from the game itself, you can Cunning Wish for Cunning Wish if you ever really want to. And you might be wanting that if you have a Mirari, so then you copy the Cunning Wish and you keep having Cunning Wish up. Flash of Insight also out of the sideboard also is a way for you to go ahead and remove cards in your graveyard to go ahead and Cunning Wish it. If playing control and making tons of mana is your kind of speed, I definitely recommend this deck for you. That's the 8 decks that we have, but if you're interested, there's a couple other decks that are available in the format as well. Battle Wits, similar to a Psychotog deck, except runs 250 cards. Black White Clerics, which is similar to kind of a mid-rangey kind of control-y deck. Pretty fun. Some Cleric synergies. Reanimator runs Doom Necromancer to go ahead and reanimate your Chroma. Burning Bridges, you run Ensnaring Bridge and a bunch of burn cards. You just hang back and burn your opponent. Beasts, which is a Naya mid-range deck, runs Contested Cliffs to go ahead and use that to have your Beast fight your opponent's creatures. And Blue-Back Control, which is similar to the Psychotog decks, except it would use the Upheaval combo with Zombie Infestation and create a huge pile of zombies and try and finish the game out that way. There's also many more. I'd recommend going ahead and Googling, 2003, U.S. Nationals, 2003 German Nationals. There's a lot of decks you can find. And if if you ever want to reach out, I'm more than happy to go ahead and talk about this topic for 1 hour ad nauseum. All right. Special thanks to the Rift for making this dream a reality. Be there February 22nd. I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you have as much fun with this format as I have. Thanks very much, and yeah, feel free to reach out to the store with any future questions. Thanks so much for your time, and I hope you have a great day.